Yes.
So before going ahead with the content, there is something which we can test priorly, like what exactly you can say uh, uh, prior understanding of complaint management you feel like in yourself, because right now the focus is to train you so that you can train your team. So first we have to understand what is your view or your perspective towards managing a complaint, or what type of skill sets you think you need to have in you to manage complaints. So first one is like uh, your complaint handling skills are effective in which particular area. So you can try by yourself, like what do you feel like which particular area of yourself has to be strengthened up so that you can handle complaints in your organization easily or effectively. You can try guessing, then we'll discuss on this.
Um, sorry, I'm very from a quality background from QMP, very good at 5 Ys and 8D execution. However, my team is not as good with those tools. So sometimes going into meetings with that team of people, it's very difficult. It's like pulling teeth to try to get them to understand the concept. And I've been through training with them over the last several months on some YouTube training I found that was very effective on 8D and 5 Ys and why we do the exercises. Um, but a lot of people within the organization have been there for 20 years, and they don't understand what we're trying to drive at. And me being new, they think I'm attacking them, but I'm not attacking them. I'm driving at where is our process breaking down. It's not the people that are the problem, it's our processes. So trying to get them to understand that is more of a hurdle than the tools themselves, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely right. So you have triggered up to a very right approach. Like there is like from the complaint handling point of view or any other, if you want to make a system effective or change, there are very important part like in people and processes. These two are very key important. Like one is through processes, you have to build a behavior or mindset that how you have to handle such type of situation in your organization. So that particular thing comes from the processes. So first you have to strengthen the processes of your organization, and accordingly you have to. So here if I talk about the effect complaint handling skills which you need, the one is you have to have an understanding of the processes, then processes in terms of outside processes as well as the company inside processes. Like internal processes you have to understand first, and you have to see where you need improvement. And there are certain benchmarking you can do from the outside industry, how these people are managing the this type of you can say complaints in particular domain area. So that particular understanding of outside benchmarking, and then implementing that by outside benchmarking into your internal processes. So by that, once you make the difference, people will understand. They will understand, yes, why this particular thing is important. You have to also showcase that why that particular action is important or process is important to reduce down this you can say any gaps are there or any defects you are getting from the quality point of view. Okay, one is your people and process. Then sometimes we have you can say presentation skills are also very important, because you have to uh, take the inputs from a particular complainant. You have to present it to the management. You have to again you can say read it or understand it in a way so that you can attack on the right area. Okay, so these are few uh, skills. Apart from that, if you see, one is like your information gathering skills. Okay, here we are talking about skills like how to handle a complaint. So one starts from your once a complaint is raised, then after that you have to analyze it. But after analyzing, you have to prepare a preliminary information requirement, and then based on that, what are the proper you can say information gathering tool you use. Sometimes you have to with the customer, multiple complaints are coming, so you have to understand what is the root cause of that particular complaint. So you have to start gathering information through that particular customer, or you can say pool of customer. So you have to prepare a particular surveys. Okay, that through survey you can gather information, and ultimately you use that information in your complaint handling or managing approach. Okay, so these are the few skill sets which one should have to deal with the complaints or handling complaints, or I can say that improving the processes in a particular system. Okay.
Yep.
So now again, the next thing is there are certain like skills which we have talked about in this processes is something again. This skills should be measurable also. Okay, like if you talk about processes gathering, so you have to have a proper understanding, like there are multiple processes in your system, so you have to have a like in which particular process the gap is there, so you can measure that there are 10-20 processes in which you have to identify in which particular process gap is there, and accordingly you have to streamline, or you can say you have to understand what is the severity level of that particular complaint, and after solving that complaint, or you can say after solving that improving that process area, where you will be leading. Okay, so it should be measured in a particular way. Okay, and along with that, when it comes to other tools and techniques, like even in case of information gathering, you have to have a proper you can say standards prepared. So against that only you need information. Sometimes while information gathering, you will get unnecessary information also. So you have to see, you have properly channelized the information gathering process or streamline that particular system, so that you can get what exactly you want from the data. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and what just want to understand what exactly you feel like wherein you need to strengthen, but like you have a technical background, you know quality aspects. The process you have already said that there are process understanding also. Now your management is, or your company has to understand that particular gap. Now apart from that, out of these things, like do you feel like there's one example I can give, like standardization from the market. So do you have that particular exposure also, wherein you have seen other industries, other multiple you can say organizations, wherein you have seen multiple different type of standards, so that we can talk about that standard, and we can see where exactly you found that the processes are in a way where it has become effective. Sometimes there are certain processes in an organization wherein the processes will increase the time or increase the efforts. So according to those increased time and efforts, effectiveness is at the like it gets reduced. So you can also talk about your prior experience in that particular area if you have some.
I mean, the industry that I'm in now, comparatively the industries I've been in the past, are
Okay.
definitely two different. Totally, I was in extrusion, polymer, chemical industry for 5 years before I came to this business, and this business is something so new that I've only been there close to 6 months and trying to learn, not be a subject matter expert in all of the processing, but really being diligent with the time that's spent on the floor and learning from the key resources of enough to be dangerous but not be a subject matter expert, because it's not my role to be a subject matter expert in everything that we do, but it's my job to understand what can affect the product quality. But I'm only in the building for 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I'm not seeing every single case of something that can happen wrong. So trying to cross over my time to be able to spend time with third shift and spend more time with second shift, and I'm on days, but trying to spread my day where I'm able to be diligent and spend the time with the others that don't have a lot of management presence on their shift, to try to help get me to where I need to be comfortable to understand if I'm getting the right root cause to the problems. Because, like I said, I'm not the subject matter expert, but I'm the one that has to come up with the technical answer to the customer complaint at the end. So if I'm not knowledgeable of the process or of the materials, I need to make sure I'm getting the right team involved to make sure that I'm not being set up to fail or given incorrect information.
True. So the basic, if I say from the basic point of view, the industry difference will be there. their only thing which you will be needing, like managerial skill you already have. So I don't think managerial skill need to be improved. You have rightly said that you have to not involve in each and every activity. You have a particular team, and your team should be you can say aligned in a such a way that each and every domain area of your business, I can say that each and every segment of your business has to be covered through your team. So if you have a particular like you have targeted this complaint handling you can say work. Now in this particular thing, you have to see your team should be divided in a such a way that at least that team should understand a specific segment of that particular business in much more detail. So that technical requirement your team can fulfill. You have to see how you have to manage that in between of the complaints throughout these one segment to other segment. Sometimes what happens, a complaint from a particular segment is also affecting the other segment also. So that integration you have to understand from the top and the bottom. Team has to understand that each and every segment in a, like suppose if I talk about a manufacturing industry wherein sales related complaints, then there is sometimes we have a complaints related to the quality of the product, sometimes the durability of the particular product, sometimes the complaint is related to. So if you have to segregate, like who has to take care of manufacturing related complaints, who has to take care of your sales related complaints, who has to take care of your you can say delivery related or your handling related complaints. So all these things has to be segregated in a such a way that you by like at your level it has to be collated, but at your team level it has to be given in a such a way that each and every person first have an understanding of that particular segment, and then based on that resolve complaints, and ultimately you being a center of you can say excellence or COE, we can call it in our most of the systems. We have a in organization we have a center of excellence, so that particular person will take care of the other sectors in a more effective manner.
So
Okay.
within empowerment, I think this business that I'm in now, I've noticed that there's people don't feel empowered to make change and to be effective in their due diligence on identifying the true root cause. How do you change culture for empowerment? Have you with
So that, yeah, so that always depends upon how the particular organizations you can say behavior is, like the top management, how these people thinks, and accordingly. Now to empower your team, you have to give you can say proper uh, delegation delegation of work to them, and along with that you have to give them authority to take decisions as well. So in most of the organization wherein people fail because of this, that empowerment is not given because the decision is centralized. So suppose if in your case also, if you want to build a team and you are starting a team and you take all the decision by yourself, and you will not allow your, like I have given an example of segments. So like suppose sales related complaints is somebody from your team is handling, but each and every small decision you want to take, then in that case what will happen, the level of motivation of that particular person will decrease, the accountability will decrease, because people will think like accountability is with my head. So always it will be like he will not accountable to a particular task. So to increase the accountability, you have to give decision making authority to a certain level to specific team members also, and ultimately once that particular system is inbuilt, then you can say empowerment will automatically build at each and every level. And once it is done, then organization can you can say as a whole it can grow. Otherwise it will be a centralized one, and then there will be a very difficult situation for others to perform as well in that particular organization.
Okay.
I hope I have responded it in like what you were what was your question against that.
Yeah, it was just more of it seems like anytime I say to a team, to a cell leader in a department that okay, here's the problem, go to, either bring the team to the meeting for the investigation meeting for the 5Y, and if you don't bring the team members along, then you own this to be able to do the 5Ys with your team. I'm telling you that, and they're like, well, that's not my job. And I'm like, well, I'm telling you that this is a top priority. This failure came out of your department, so we need your help to get to the true root cause. If your team's not here, we can't We can only dissect the data and look at the paperwork. We don't have their point of view, so it's very difficult to get to this next step.
Absolutely right. So that is where the root cause analysis, when we have to perform the root cause analysis, we have to have all the respective team members, or you can say segment leaders, who are belonging to that particular segment. Because when you go in detail, because whenever you want to perform a root cause analysis, you have to go in much more detail, and the presence should be very required. And if that particular team member is not giving his 100% in that, or you can say accountability towards that particular task, in that case we have to like, first of all, we have to educate that team leader that this is like under your team, these are the particular complaints, like either we hear from them, or else you take the accountability, which is the one which exactly you have said, that you ask the team leader to take the accountability of that. But along with that, we one thing which we can do is we have to make them aware with the implications, or with the you can say negative impacts of not giving inputs to you, or not giving right inputs to you. So that implication, once the implication comes in picture now, then the complete the complete picture gets converted into you can say smooth running. So whenever you say that this is why this particular thing is required, and if you are not doing, then the implication would be in this particular manner. So whenever you convert that thing into implications, ultimately those team members will start, either they will start taking accountability, because now they have linked to a particular you can say sometimes we also convert that implication into a cost impact. So when it is linked to a particular cost impact, ultimately the person will feel like yeah, he has to either take the ownership, or he has to get others to take the ownership, so that the complete you can say right information should go to the right person. Okay. Now let's move the theory part of it, and then we'll see some situation based scenarios also will go through. Okay.
Yep,
So I hope my screen is visible to you.
it is.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start from what are our learning objectives. Okay. So once you complete this training, or once you complete this curriculum, you will be able to define what exactly complaints are all about. Sometimes what happen, there are multiple sort of different. So you have to see segregation, like what exactly a complaint means to you as a, or your organization. Sometimes there are some complaints on which you are spending your time, but exactly it is not impacting your business, or it is not directly impacting any uh, your culture of that particular organization. So you have to segregate in the in start itself. Okay, what is a complaint is all about. Understand why customers complain. So after completing all this, you will also understand why customer is complaining, what is the root cause behind that particular complaint. By segregation, you will understand in what particular segment the complaints are more. That analysis, as a manager or as a head of the department, uh, at the end of the year, your target should be like uh, in a particular year there are a lot of complaints which has came up. Okay, and there's a lot of segments, so you have to perform that analysis wherein which particular segment is having more issues. So you have to see that. Then you have to prepare your proper you can say analysis on that particular domain, and what is, because of that root cause, what actions management has to take, so that the complaints will reduce in that particular area, and ultimately the organization objective meets the customer requirement. Okay. Describe the components of an effective complaint handling process. So we'll see how to handle a complaint. We'll see what are the components of handling a complaint, how you have to start and how you have to end a complaint. So we'll also talk about documentation required. So like to start to initiate a particular, or even in between when you are investigating, what type of various documentation is required, how to read that particular document, which particular document is very important, like what type of standards you have to follow for investigation. So those documentation requirements also will understand. As I mentioned earlier, also tracking is very important, so that you can prepare the trend analysis. So once you track your complaints in an effective manner, you are able to, at the end of the month or quarter, or you can say year, you are able to make management aware about the trend. So based on trend, the management can take decisions, like, because every time, like whenever you start solving a complaint, or you investigating a complaint, after solution there should be some cost linked to it. Like to resolve that complaint, there should be some cost to it. Like either management has to take a particular decision to improve something. So beyond that, against that, there is a cost implication. Now against that cost implication, what exactly output you are getting from the, or you can say profit you are getting from that particular action or activity. So that is very important to understand. uh, like through that improvement opportunity which you have identified through your trend analysis, is that particular in, you can say, opportunity is feasible from the financial point of view. So those decisions has to be taken by the management, but for that you have to give them an input in terms of trends, in terms of cost implications, in terms of benefits which you can get. And sometimes there are like cost of solving that particular or resolving that particular issue is so high that the benefits are low. So in that case, management has to take a decision. Okay, you can carry on with this particular, but manage in a particular different manner. So that is where it is very important to track, perform the trend analysis, and identify the continuous improvement activities, or you can say process gaps in your case, and you can update your management. So whenever you come up with the facts and figures to in front of management, then they will feel more, you can say, uh, more interested in that particular decision making. If you simply come up with a particular scenario and you explain that scenario without facts and figures, the person will not feel like taking a decision or supporting that particular, you can say, uh, continuous improvement opportunity. So for that you have to properly give them a facts, like the cost implications, that the benefits out of that particular thing. Okay, understand how a more professional approach to handling complaints in an organization and can deliver benefits in terms of increased customer satisfaction. So ultimate goal is what? For an organization also, ultimate goal is your customer satisfaction. So to have that particular, to reach up to that particular level, you have to work on each and every area. So it starts from your initial sales to your manufacturing, and ultimately to the feedback also. So you have to see the proper customer feedback should also come, and based on that particular feedback you have to you can say, uh, 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 redesign your processes in your organization. Okay, so anything else which you are also like which you are expecting from the training, like apart from these things, anything else you are expecting from the training also, in terms of expectation? Like one, you have already mentioned that you want to establish a particular processes wherein your team should do. So we'll see how you can, like the last point, which is nothing but the professional approach. We'll see how that professional approach can be adopted in complaint, you can say, resolution or complaint handling system mechanism.
No, I think these bullet points will help me drive the program to empower not only my quality team but others in the organization to move toward this the new culture of solving problems as a team. Because one right now it's kind of like I'm solving the problems with assistance, but it's currently the way that the structure of the business is set up is that they're like, you own the process, you are the quarterback, you have to drive, but I don't always have the team engagement. Either they're too busy or they don't know the answers, so then they just kind of go silent. So I need the tools to be able to be successful to get the team engaged and keep them engaged, to solve the problems in a very effective manner and in a very quick timeline, because we don't want a problem to persist. If we don't find the true root cause and fix it, we could have another order in process that could be affected as well. So I
Correct.
think
So
it's
you
more
have rightly
culture.
targeted. Like, yeah, sorry, you want to say something?
I think it's, changing the culture is one of the things that I need to do as well. But I know that this course can't do that. But the tools in the course I can use to change the culture over the next 6 months or so. I know it's not a switch I can just turn on and okay, everyone's good. It's continual improvement. It's continuing to push and drive to the right manner of doing things.
Absolutely right. So there are two aspects which I have, you can say, I can understand from this. One is the process understanding. Definitely from this course, you will understand the processes, what type of standard processes you can follow. And the other thing is the culture. Now, you are absolutely right that culture cannot be, you can say, changed in a day. So it's always like you have an understanding of that particular process. Now you have to build that interest in everyone, because one of the major reason you have also mentioned that uh, multiple teams are also involved. And when there are multiple teams or multiple stakeholders are involved, so making them interested in that particular, like why they have to understand why this is important. So along with building culture, you have to keep that particular thing in such a way that it will keep uh, increasing the interest of that particular stakeholder. So that is very important to understand. You have to also understand, uh, since there are particular deliverables attached to each and every stakeholder. So you have to understand, apart from that deliverable, that is something which he has to give his 100% on that particular deliverable. But along with that, you have to see how that particular deliverable can be improved by showing in the particular output of this your you can say work. You're resolving this through that trend analysis, through your you can say approach. You can make them believe that okay, if I perform this thing in this particular way, my own deliverable will also improve. So you have to build a sense in each and every domain area that your ultimately your deliverable also getting improved. So by this they will have their interest along with your direction, and ultimately as a joint team you can successfully deliver whatever product is. So that interest has to be built throughout the journey of your change which you are expecting in your organization's culture.
Okay.
Okay, so let's now move to the next topic, which is now we have to understand what complaints are about, and how customer complaints are handled in your organization, like in other organizations. So everywhere the, the approach is different. Okay, now, so one thing is value placed on customer image, ability to support products and services, value of the product and services. So these are some you can say segregation by which you can understand, like solving a complaint for an organization, why it is important. So why it is important is, like, your products value or services will increase whenever you perform or solve a customer complaint. You will get to know that what exactly was wrong in that particular thing or your product. And ultimately, once you improve the quality of the product, alongside services to the particular customer is also getting improved. Okay, so ability to support your products and services, image, your brand image, your market image will improve. Okay, and ultimately the value which you are placing in a customer's, you can say, mind, it drives from all these things. Sometimes suppose the product is very good. Okay, you have a very brilliant, very good product in your this thing, but when you are delivering or providing after delivery of that particular product, the services which which you have to give along with that product is not up to the mark. Okay, and customer is again and again reaching out to you and have that particular feedback, but you have only focused on the product part of it, not to the services part of it. Thing has given another dissatisfaction to the customer. Now he will start feeling disvalued in that particular domain, or in your particular this thing culture. Now ultimately through that he will not come back to you for the particular purchase. So you have to focus on both product as well as the services. Okay, so one thing is for the product you can take feedback, then again the services along with that product, delivery of that particular product, after sales services of that particular product. So you have to think from all the holistic view, and ultimately the aim is to have a customer should feel valued. So that should be the aim. So when a particular customer is complaining, you have to take it in a serious way, and we have to respond. Sometimes what happen, you will also see in upcoming slides that a customer is complaining, but technically he does not know that complaint is not a complaint, or you can say that complaint is not resolvable technically. So you have to again, in that case, you are aware that technically that is a process. Okay, technically that is something which should be there, but you have to create a process in such a way that customer should feel valued. At the end of the resolution, you should pass your message in an effective manner, that customer should not feel you can say unsatisfied from the resolution. Now, sometimes what happen at the very first stage also, you know that this complaint is not resolvable, but you have to keep on going through the process, so that customer should not feel upset, unsatisfied. Okay, or this thing. So you have to see how to manage these type of situations.
Yep.
Yeah. So now let's move to the next thing, like understanding the complaint. What are the complaints are all about, source of the complaints, benefit of handling complaints, and danger of handling complaints. So in upcoming slide, we'll see in much more detail, like from where the complaints are generated, and like why it is important for us. So as I mentioned earlier also, why this is important to you is to improve the you can say your processes in the system, to improve the product quality, to improve the service quality. So there are a lot of benefits behind resolving these complaints. Sometimes we feel like, okay, this particular area, in this particular area complaints are coming, so by that you will able to identify in your business value chain that particular area is weak, wherein because of your like as I'm given an example of product, best product, but services are poor. So in that case, the only because of that services, your product is not getting you can say that response which is supposed to be get, because of the standardization, because of the good value of that particular product. So you have to identify which particular segment or which particular domain is weak in your overall business value chain. Okay, then there are dangers also handling complaints. Sometimes we have for behind the complaints you have to spend money, so you have to your organizations, like that is one of the very you can, in your case, this is something which is right now happening. Like management is thinking that, okay, wasting time on solving these complaints is like wasting of money, wasting of resources, like hours, your resource hours. Okay, now they are not that much serious. So that is something. Sometimes you being a head of this particular, there are a lot of, suppose there are 1,000 complaints, so you have to segregate that these are the complaints which will, if you are putting efforts on that particular complaint, it will definitely hamper your organization's time, resource, or you can say a cost impact will also be there. But now there are other aspects, like you have to identify these things and you have to segregate and either you pass it to third party or any other, or if it is not required even to be solved, you can pass it. But you have to understand that the other thing is important, the other balanced one is important, and that message you have to pass. If sometimes like in a uh, 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 usually what happens, we have a lot of, and we forgot to do the segregation and we focus on each and every complaint, then the disengagement will start coming. So that disengagement should not come from the management or from the stakeholders. So for that, you have to perform a proper segregation. Okay. I think message is clear from this slide.
Yes.
So in between, anything you want to give from the your part, like the best thing is I can understand there is particular problem statement which you are looking for. So you can come up with the problem statement which you are facing in your organization. We can also discuss about how the other organizations are dealing with that particular problem. What are the management approach? There are two approaches. One is the management approach and one is the technical approach. So it is very important to understand how managerially you can resolve those problems, and where we have to you can say come up with the technical solutions. Okay, so I can help you out with the management solutions. Technical solutions you are anyhow expert in.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's discuss why we have to handle complaints. So there is a greater focus on how complaints are handled by organizations. The focus changes from being product driven to being customer driven. The business environment has become more competitive nowadays. Services has become the main, you can say, differentiating factor. So as I mentioned earlier, during this particular, you can say, approach, you have to see what exactly is your from your business. So now this is applicable each and every business value chain. Okay, whether it is manufacturing industry, whether it is a construction industry. So earlier it was a product driven market. Earlier it was only like if you have built a good product, after that, even your product is best, even your services or any other, you can say, sales are weak, but still you can say you are having a good presence in your in that particular market. But nowadays the focus has shifted from product to customer, and the reason is the market has become competitive. There are a lot of products, like you can get A, B, C category. Like suppose a person is organization is making a category, but very near to it B category product will be there. So now a person will see, okay, B category product is giving me this much services along with that, so that is more beneficial for me, or that is more comfortable I am with. So this is where you have to understand why it is not only a product which is earlier driving the organization. Now it is your customers who are driving the organization. Now it is the services which you are providing to the customer is driving the organization's benefit, or you can say objective, ultimate objective. Okay, so we should not only focus on the product, we have to focus on customer. And customer, how to focus on customer? Through the services. And these services are nothing but in terms of the product which you are delivering, the deliveries, the feedback also you have to take. So each and every step is important. Not only just delivering the product, also getting the feedback is very important, so that you can improve your organization's, you can say, product quality. Okay, now let's move to the next thing. Like we have understood what complaints are all about. Now let's understand uh, the source of the complaint. So now there are internal customers and external customers. So you have to understand from your organization part of, you can say, organizations, or your manufacturing systems, or your firms, you can say, customer base, that who all are your internal customers, who all are your external customers, and by that you have to segregate and ultimately handle those things. Okay, so before going to the upcoming slides, uh, just want to understand, like, if you want to if you want to categorize customer in internal or external, like in your organization, so are you able to come up with some, you can say, type of customers? These are the internal one, these are the external one. Just before going ahead with this, after this slide you will understand, like, what exactly is internal and external customers.
So internally would be anything with the manufacturing or supply chain. I consider the contract manufacturers as internal because they're creating product on our behalf. So I would categorize the contract manufacturing in internal manufacturing. Any inputs to a customer driven product would be an internal customer. And then external customers, anyone outside of the business that would have that are using our products.
Correct. So from the theoretical definition, absolutely, you are absolutely right that internal customers are the customers, like, who are on the floor, like your manufacturing team. And ultimately, if you are handling their complaints properly, you are automatically handling, or your impact should be automatically on the external customers. So always your first layer of, you can say, problem resolve, or solving complaints is, you have to internally solve the complaints first, and then to focus on the external customers. Now, once the internal customers are satisfied, the impact will come on the external customers, and ultimately your overall value chain will be created. In this case, in when we talk about internal and external customers, so complaints, like, methodology to handling these complaints may differ for internal and as well as for external. So here, when you are when you are about to prepare a processes for complaint handling in your organization, so once, here you can take one lesson wherein you can segregate this particular process for internal customers, like your organization related stakeholders, who are directly or indirectly related to it. Sometimes, like in manufacturing, you are you have small suppliers also. So complaints from those small suppliers are considered as the internal customers. Then there is the output of that particular, you can say, manufacturing unit is a product and which is getting delivered to a consumer. Now that consumer is nothing but your external customer. So I've given you an example of internal external customer. Now you have to think for both the you can say customers, the system of handling complaints should be different. Or you have to define, when you are defining processes, you have to define a process in a particular manner. Like one of the thing is like format in which that customer has to complain. So for internal customer, the format should be different, and for external customer, the format feedback mechanism should be different. So this is something which you can standardize in when you are preparing the processes. So I
Okay.
think you
So
can
we
relate
have
it with the, yeah,
there are two different value streams, I guess you can say, from a perspective of internal versus external. So external are handled through a CRM system, which is not tied to any of our production. It's a totally separate system for customer complaints. And
correct.
the mechanism for internal is we have our NCR, non-conforming material request form, and that details, what the problem was, but that's more of a manufacturing problem and accepting a product of use as is or dispositioned, but it doesn't necessarily link to the customer. There's a disconnect in my mind trying to get the culture at the site to understand, yes, the NCR is important. However, we need to fix what's broken on either the
Absolutely. So
router
what
or any
you are
other
talking about the
things.
NCRs related to the quality of a particular this thing. Now that NCRs are being raised by whom? These NCRs are being raised by uh, your organizations, multiple different departments to for particular, you can say, defect in the products, or you can say product when product is in a life cycle stage. There are stages. So in particular stage there is particular defect, and which you are identifying through NCR. That is absolutely right. Okay, that is your quality standards. That is not coming under your you can say complaint related to this. That is your quality standards, for which for that quality standards you are having a process of NCRs, and that is your internal company, your organization's process. Now when it comes to internal customers, so beyond NCR, like beyond this, like suppose you have to deliver a product, and to make that product there are multiple suppliers, small suppliers. Now if there are certain complaints of those suppliers, now NCRs is for like those suppliers are not giving a right quality of product, right? That is your, because of which your quality of your end product is impacting. So that is your, as an organization you are raising NCRs to for that you can say work. Now sometimes what happen, those small suppliers are having certain issues also from the particular, like integration related. So that sometimes what happen, a particular product is good, is which is supplying is not getting integrated with the other suppliers material, and ultimately your end product. So reverse complaints are can also be there. So you have to see complaints from the supplier side can also be considered in a different manner. So that's why I'm saying that complaints, managing customer related complaints, or your end complaints from the external customers, and managing your internal customers should have a different approach. So NCRs could be one of the part of it, but NCRs again is a very related to only to the quality. Now as you earlier mentioned that apart from quality also you are looking to for the improvement. So that is something wherein you can collate everything, and ultimately by that you can deliver whenever, because you are preparing, you want to prepare a processes for an organization. So that is not only from the quality point of view, it is also from the other aspects also. So you can cover this particular part as well.
Okay.
Okay, now let's move to the next topic, the focus of complaint handling system. So it should be noted that complaints from internal customer needs to be also handled effectively. As I mentioned earlier, from an organization point of view, poor handling of complaints from internal and external customer can lead to. So now this is something which is, you can say, if you are not dealing with the complaints, if you are not effectively dealing with the complaints, what type of, you can say, implications you can have. So these type of things you can focus on while discussing that demotivation of those, like your customers. So if you have not resolved a particular customer complaint, once it will he will complain once, he will complain twice, thrice, but after some particular time point of time, they will stop complaining. They will not feel like to be associated with it, or you can say they will associate themselves from the, like, it could be external or it could be internal customer. Now here customer you can also treat as a stakeholder. So each and every stakeholder is very important. As a customer you have to treat them as a customer, you have to understand what is their needs, and accordingly you have to satisfy those particular needs. Poor performance in terms of either it could be your internal manufacturing system, okay, wherein if you are not resolving that particular quality standards related to complaints, like your NCRs. So suppose the NCRs are coming from a particular same domain area. Okay, sometimes, okay, there is a new defect which has came up, that you can accept. But sometimes what is happening, you have given an NCR, and again the same, for the same problem you are getting the particular NCR are coming, like issue is remaining same. Now in that case, what is happening, root cause is not properly either identified, or root cause is not properly attacked. So you have to identify the root cause, attack the root cause, so that the problem will should not come in future. So because of this also, your overall production line performance can be reduced, or you can say you can achieve a poor performance from the end product point of view. Generation of defective products and services, again. So by this, what is actually happening is, if you are not resolving a particular problem, quality issue, or any other complaint related to some integration related, like to with other part of your product. So if you are not doing that, at the end of the you can say value chain, the product will have some defects, and ultimately your services, you have to cover up in your services, and again your services will also face, like, sometimes what happens, your defective products, you will while when it went to the market or to the customer, you have to cover up with the poor services. Your services, like, sometimes what happens, if I give you uh, an example, one product is being prepared, okay, if one product is delivered to the customer, and this particular product has start giving like a defect. Now when customer takes back this product to the organization or to the firm or to the seller, he was aware about that this is a manufacturing defect. Now what is happening, he has a good service, he has a good service approach to that particular customer. But when he knows that this is a manufacturing defect, he start giving responses in a delayed way. So whenever a person start getting a delayed response, he will start getting panic. He will feel like, okay, I'm not being heard properly. Okay, so these type of dissatisfactory emotions will come in that particular person. So we have to avoid these type of situations, because one thing is leading to another thing. So once you are attacking on the right area, then ultimately your end result is also getting corrected. And ultimately then late delivery of customer is also one of the case, okay, because in this particular cycle you may defect your products, and again you have to you can say put it on a production line, okay, and reproduce that particular product again. Now, what are complaints? Okay, a complaint will arise from either or both of two main reasons. One is a product or service is faulty, okay, and does not function correctly. And then the product or service does not meet the expectation of a customer. Okay, one is your quality defect, which completely you can say you can manage through your technical quality team. Okay, then there is something which is a customer is expecting, and against that particular expectation, the product or services are not given to that particular customer. So these are the two major categories under which the complaint, or you can say reasons because of which a complaint generates. So any example in your case you can come up with, like in your manufacturing. So if you want to bifurcate your complaints, so what type of complaints you are getting on the first one, or reason are like faulty products, and the other one in your same firm.
Yeah, so I have them from both different categories. So if a product service is faulty, it does not function to the drawing or to the customer specification. There are, some um, are designed just for a specific use of a customer, and we have systems in place, vision systems, etc., on equipment to catch problems on the production line, but in some cases, those problems aren't seen either by the operator or by the vision system. And so we get complaints of product, the vision system seeing something it's not supposed to see, or product getting through to the customer that wasn't caught. So, that is a true product quality issue, and the customer is forced to sort the product, which is a problem. So, we're working on, trying to get down to the true root cause, retraining the vision system, making tweaks within the system, um, understanding what customers allow splices, not allow splices within the material roles. Those are just a few things that we have that come up a little more frequently than not. And then the non doesn't meet customer expectations is we had a customer complaint just a few weeks ago from one of our OEMs, and the roll that they received, the product that was rolled to them, was not specified on the drawing how they wanted it rolled, if they wanted the parts internally rolled or externally rolled. So we rolled them externally, and they filed a customer complaint against us that we failed to meet their specification, which wasn't given to us because we were following their drawing. It wasn't stated on their drawing how they wanted the parts rolled, either internal or external. So that was a no fault complaint, but we made changes on our router to effectively meet the customer needs on the next production run. But when the customer scorecard came through just the other day on Thursday, they were still not satisfied that we didn't do it right the first time. So with that circumstance, I went back to the customer service team and spelled out, why the issue arose, in that it wasn't clear on their drawing of how they wanted their parts. So we did it the way that our internal routing was set up, and um, customers still not completely satisfied just because they feel like their voice wasn't heard. But I'm coming from a quality perspective, not from the customer experience.
True.
So it
So
takes a
here
team.
now,
It takes a team to
mhm,
respond to the customer and to make sure the customer's satisfied. And right now we have a breakdown within the organization. I believe that it's more culture.
absolutely right. I was coming up to that particular point only, that you being your the particular, you can say, head of the department, you have done your job. But the only thing is, in this particular case, you are managing an external customer. Internal customer here, by this, like if a complaint you can manage without having that particular feedback. Now, one is, once you get the feedback also, you have to acknowledge that feedback. You have to, that team has came back to you. Now the message should go directly to the customer also. Even in that case, if the team who's in between, then usually what happen in this type of situations, the team who's communicating to the customer, your customer service team, and you are sitting at a two different engines, because the service team is not aware about the technicality behind that particular thing. So in that case, what is happening, the team will think, okay, they will just pass a message, and then again they will not respond back to the query which has came, or the doubts which is there in customer's mind. So that is important. Like you can segregate that at what particular, because every complaint you cannot get involved. Your technical team is not possible to get involved. Now you have to segregate which particular type of you can say level at which you can have your interaction, direct interaction to the customer, and give them a particular right you can say resolution, that this was the reason or root cause, so that he will be aware about it, and next time he should know that, okay, this has to be done in a this particular manner, so that I can get what I was expecting. So once this particular chain is completed, then only you can avoid these type of situation in you can say upcoming months.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Now let's see what are they like in terms of complaints. Now there are certain like functions or characteristics to it. One is checkable, objective, resolvable. So whenever a complaint comes to you, first thing which you have to check in that is whether it is a checkable. Okay, now you can identify the defect through that particular complaint, exactly where that particular thing is. What is the objective of that complaint? Like as I mentioned earlier, sometimes there are complaints which you know that if you solve, ultimately it will not benefit to the organization. So you have to see what is the objective of that particular complaint. Then once you have to understand the objective and checkable, or you can say whether it is possible, feasible to identify the defect or root cause, whether it is resolvable or not. So once you know that it is a resolvable, then you have to see what impact it is having in terms of financial impact, in terms of your time or efforts to it. So these type of preliminary checks you have to perform once a complaint has you can say end up or comes to your table. The complaint can be investigated using the information gathering technique. So first, like after this, the next step is gathering the information. Then there are multiple methods by which you can gather information. Then how to analyze that information. Then how to utilize that information in resolving your complaints. Okay. So first thing is you have to understand, or you can say you categorize your complaint on these three parameters: checkable, objective of the complaint, or whether it is a resolvable or not. Okay.
Okay.
Now let's look at expectations. So from the expectation point of view, so you have to understand first is like individual customer, like what is the expectation of a particular individual customer, subjectivity, dealing with opinions versus facts, and limited checkability. So you have to categorize like what exactly the customer is expecting from that complaint, what his the information which he has given in the complaint, is it enough to check. Okay, so that is how much you can say ability you have, or you can say the information you are having to act on that particular thing. Now sometimes there are certain opinions which someone is making without any facts, so you have to deal with that, whether that complaint is having certain specific facts, or sometimes there are some complaints which has came in a particular manner wherein there is an opinion that should be, this is not right, this is something which is happening wrong, or this there is a issue. So you have to segregate between these two also. There is opinions, so you have to substantiate those opinions through facts. So you have to identify factual, you have to focus on the factual data. Okay, need to be able to understand the human side of business to deal with this. So ultimately, as I mentioned earlier, you have to understand the business. Sometimes what happen if you are sitting at a very high level, you are not able to understand each and every domain in a much more detail. But since your team should be segregated in such a way that every individual should know his own domain area in very you can say detailed manner, and ultimately through that they have to come up with an integrated solution. Okay.
Okay.
So now, before going ahead to the back to the basics, you can say of this particular, like how to deal with it, what from where it comes, like how people react on this. So before going all on other topics, here we can have a 20 minutes break and come back and again discuss on these slides, and we'll also see some scenarios in upcoming. And in between, I just want to understand. I just want to ask, when do you want to have your lunch break? Like at what particular time?
I'm flexible with lunch. So I can work on your time schedule because I'm in a different time zone, but that's no problem from that retrospect.
Okay, no worries. So we can like jointly discuss whenever you want it. So in between that, we'll try to figure it out. Okay. So
Okay.
here we can have it 20 minutes break, and we'll come back after 20 minutes, exactly
Okay.
after 20 minutes.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. what exactly this particular scenario is all about, what exactly the situation is, and based on that we can suggest how to like go ahead in this particular situation.
Okay.
So you can read it out loud, not an issue.
Um, John Sloan owns a small boat engine repair business on the coast, employing 12 full-time staff. As a small business, he can find it challenging to balance his time generating sales and dealing with customer feedback. Many customers have come to him stating that they get frustrated being passed through his staff when they want something changed. This also frustrates John, as by the time they contact him, they are very disappointed and angry, which makes it harder for him to develop a relationship with them. John also misses the time when he builds better relationships with customers. John does not know what to do next. What would you suggest from what you have learned in this course? It sounds like right now he's not prioritizing customers as far as um, he's looking for growth, but he's not prioritizing his existing current base of customers.
Hmm. Okay, and what solutions like we can suggestions we can give to him, like how to approach this you can say uh, organization in which he's working,
I would say
or you can say
employee
for this platform.
employee empowerment along with a streamlined approach. So when something does get to the next line of defense, they know that they own that particular swim lane and that they can supply the feedback either back up to John direct or direct to the customer, depending on where it's coming from.
Okay, that's right, that's good. Okay, now let's understand the possible ways like how we can help John in this event. So you are absolutely right that he is not focusing much on the customer. So first thing what he can do, like he can do, he has to establish what are the main areas which are taking time. Like in terms of he has to take customer feedback, and from there he has to understand where exactly the problem is. Now, what are his customers seeking to give feedback on? Like he has to uh, like once he understand, okay, now he has to take customer feedback, then he has to decide on what particular segments he can divide. One is the product, service, or any other, like they have different expectations or perceptions towards that particular product. Okay, so that is the another, you can say, segregation which we can suggest him, that once he start getting feedback from the customer, he has to segregate under this, and based on that he have to understand. So now, John, does John understand the opportunity in handling customers effectively? No. In this case, you have rightly identified that as of now his focus was on the product, but he has to see that how to handle customer, because he has to handle customer complaints effectively, and based on that he has to like improve his business. Okay. So does John's staff understand their role and responsibility in this process? So can you comment on this particular part?
I
Based on the,
don't
I'll again go back to the situation. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe that John's team is engaged in any of the complaint, maybe the process behind the scenes. Um, they're just getting bits and pieces possibly and not getting the full encompassing story. So they don't know how to respond or even if they are responsible to respond.
Correct. So they because one thing is, once the particular roles and responsibilities are something wherein the clear you can say deliverable has to be defined. Suppose there is something, a customer, if he is not getting satisfied, and they should not delay that particular process, because the longer you delay the particular process of resolving a complaint, the complainant will feel more unsatisfied. So they have to see, they have to have a clear role and responsibility that after a particular time they have to quickly reach out to John, and John has to, for the or the whatever escalation metrics. So the particular roles and responsibilities has to be defined in a such a way that customer experience or customer satisfaction has to be also tracked during that particular process of complaint resolving. Okay, I
Yep.
think from this example we first understood what exactly the problem statement is and how you can say effectively. So this is very initiation wherein you have to just understand that from the product you can say a product approach, like wherein your approach is only on the product, to move to the customer satisfaction approach, or a better customer experience approach. So in this journey, what exactly the first step you have to take? So the first step here we have discussed. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Now let's move back to the same slides. I hope my screen is visible to you.
Complete. Yeah. Back to basics.
Yeah. So now the basics are very simple. What is complaint? Complaint comes from the people. Okay. Now people is our customer. Customer are the reason why we are having that particular business. So ultimately, the business aim is to satisfy the customer. So everything starts from a particular like complaint, which is a dissatisfaction level of an individual. Now the individual is the one who is you can say driving my business, and ultimately that satisfaction level of that individual is important, and for that we have to resolve the complaint in a particular effective manner. So due to the last point, we need to be able to identify complaints and to rectify them in our organization. So that's why it is very important that you have to identify the complaints, and ultimately you have to you can say rectify it effectively. Okay, effectively is very important, because resolving a complaint effectively is not always the that accepting that you can say complaint. And sometimes a customer is expecting, like in your case you have given a example wherein the customer was not satisfied, and if you give a particular a product, or some, suppose if I give another example wherein a customer is expecting refund, or you can say replacement. But every time like if a complaint has came, so that doesn't mean that if you have refunded the complaint is effectively closed. Sometimes what happened, because of the customer also, like in your case it was because the specification was not clarifying that particular part, the requirement is not clarified from the customer side, and ultimately the product which was delivered as per, he was not expecting that, because he has not mentioned in that particular requirement. So effectiveness is something wherein you have not only you have to close it effectively, like wherein you have given a right solution to it, not the one which is favoring, and accordingly customer will definitely, if he is expecting a refund, and if you are refunding or replacing that item, the satisfaction level will go next level high. But that doesn't mean that complaint is resolved effectively. If the complaint is if the manufacturing defect was us is rightly there, then in case fine, you have replaced or repaired or refunded the amount, that is fine. But sometimes expectation is different, and your your end product is different, so that has to be managed accordingly. Okay. Now, what are the benefits of handling complaints? So we have already discussed earlier, but here if you see the main benefits, or you can say key driving factors which leads to you can say uh, very impactful impact on your business, is nothing but the benefits which you are having in terms of profitability. Okay, so sometimes what happen, your because of multiple complaints, you know that what exactly is not you can suppose your product is not getting properly sold in the market. So now because of the customer complaints, you understood what exactly were the root cause behind it, behind that, and then you have increased the you can say you have you have gone through the overall process and improved the quality, and ultimately the volume has been increased, the delivery volume has been increased to the market, and that particular same is getting converted into sales as well. So by that your profitability is increased. Maintenance of your customer base, like suppose one customer has reached out to, and he's like again and again buying from you only, so that is something like you are satisfying his product as well as services. So by that you are maintaining that same customer for a longer duration. Then there are like by this ultimately what you are achieving a loyalty from that particular customer. Now sometimes there are certain loyal customers who has become at a certain level, they have become so loyal to the company that they will not look for like they will, even if they are getting other benefits in if they are going to other product, still they will you can say attach to your product only. So if once you achieve that loyalty, that means your complete product line, service line is way at par than your competitors. Okay. Opportunity to utilize new learning for improvement of business processes. So one of the goal which you are also here looking for, like there are certain process gaps in your organization. Now, once you understand each and every complaint under the domain areas, you will understand which domain area is you can say a problem statement for you, and what exactly the problem statement in it, where the process gap is, and by resolving that process gap, ultimately you are improving your organization's business processes, and ultimately you can say achieving the organization goal. Building of customer advocates for the business. Now, sometimes you by satisfying, or you can say by maintaining your customers expectation, you what exactly you are doing, you are creating a customer who will defend your product in the market. In the business, you need not to defend your product, or you need to just, so by your customer base itself, they will be the one who will be defending your product in the market, and you have a good business you can say benefits. Okay. So anything else, like here you see, like in your organization, if you have a effective customer handling, you can say processes. Now, what exactly you are expecting that by this you will achieve this particular thing in your, because your goal should be clear. Like if you want to start a process of customer handling in a particular manner, wherein you need to have a particular you can say processes implemented. So for that, you will also have to know what benefits you are giving to the organization. So what additional benefits you think you can give by giving a overall standardized process for handling complaints.
No, I think it would help open up the communication lines between all levels of the organization, and it will help us understand as a business how customer feedback and miscues in production can affect the overall business, because that's not necessarily seen at all levels of the organization. So I think
So basically,
establishing.
so from this, basically, I understand that your problem statement is from the organization point of view, your target is to have a effective management in the organization. One of the solution, which is even one of the, you can say benefit, which is not highlighted here. Here we are only focusing on the customer and the. Now your problem statement also talks about from the organization point of view, to build that culture, to build that particular thing. Once you start solving complaints in a particular manner, ultimate goal of you is to have a effective stakeholder management, wherein each and every individual or your departments or domain area experts will have a better understanding of it, and they should have a clear flow of information. I hope I'm right over here.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Now let's move to the next one. So, so this is an example like where a major car distributor has the following perspective, like doing the uh, job right at the first time, plus effective complaint handling. So that delivers the maximum customer satisfaction and loyalty. So this is the general principle, like as I mentioned even earlier, also product and services. So you every if it is an example of a car manufacturer. It can also apply in other domain areas, any manufacturing, construction, or defense, wherever you are going in each and every industry. There is one thing is your product, then the other thing is your uh, uh, you can say services. Now here in this case, how you can give a better service, by handling their complaints. Like if they're particular in manufacturing, in a particular case, there are certain issues are coming in that particular vehicle. So once that vehicle go back to the service center, whatever complaints he's having or he or she is having should get resolved effectively. So that is something wherein a customer will become satisfied, as well as by the time he will become loyal to the particular car distributor, or you can say car manufacturer. So it is very important to focus on both the part. One is first producing the right thing for the first time itself, like when you are delivering something to the customer, and After that, your after sales service, you can also say, wherein handling, you can say, complaint is uh, uh, one of the exercise in it. Okay, and that is one of the important, very important, because it covers all the other aspects also, like not only the technical one, it also covers the other aspects of the particular product. Okay.
Yep.
So it makes easy for your customer to complain, and your customer will make it easy for you to improve. So now here it is very important that you have to create an environment, you have to create a culture wherein your customer should be open to complain. It should not be like that you'll not you have a particular, like, if I give you an example wherein ease is there, like the feedback from the particular organization or from the particular manufacturer is so rigorous that he's taking feedback and after each and every delivery or each and every service he has delivered, and in a particular frequency he's taking feedback by himself. So that is one way of working. Then there is another way wherein he has delivered the service, and if customer comes, they will accept the complaint, but the feedback, the approach in which you are going to the customer and trying to get the information, because that information is important for you as well. Not like customer is facing some issue, that is one thing, but the same thing is very important for you to improve your processes, improve your product quality. Okay, so that is why it is important that your customer should also feel like easy, like reachable. He has to it won't be difficult for them to reach out to you back and give their, like, share their feedbacks. So it is very important that you establish a system wherein your customer can come up to you with a very, you can say, easily. Okay, in your, like, let's discuss about your organization, like your customer service department is there. Now what is your mechanism to collect the complaint? Like either it is a feedback based, or sometimes it is it's like customer comes up and then you respond to it.
Um, usually, so usually I'm reacting to something that's put into the CRM system, and it could be a shipping issue with the pallets not being stamped, or pallet damage to the freight being damaged by the freight forwarder, but everything's hitting my desk regardless of the terms on the contract. So I'm trying to I'm trying to empower the customer service team not to keep me out of the loop, but if something they need to own their contract, their customer relationship. So if it is truly FCA, that means that we as an organization are responsible, but we will do our due diligence to the packaging to make sure that it we will mitigate the risk of it happening again. But for that to come to my level to be able to answer back seems to be, I don't mind taking it and trying to flow the process through to the other departments to impact how we're packaging something. Can we make changes to benefit all the customers? But to answer back to the customer that, hey, your terms are FCA, you need to file a complaint with your carrier because the terms on the contract are this. It seems like that message isn't getting back to them until after the investigation is complete, which is a little backwards in my mind. That should be answered right away by the customer service team, and then of course we still investigate what can we do differently to satisfy in the future.
Okay, that is something I understood the scenario very well. Now here, you are absolutely right that the complaint has initiated, investigation has initiated. Ultimately, it has came to you, and once you go back and resolve, like you have given a particular solution to it. In the meantime, you have wasted so much time. At the very first level, if the customer service department was aware about, like, whether these terms and conditions are part of it or not, so that is something wherein if you are getting multiple complaints in same delivery related this type of, now you have to think how you can either filter out the complaints in the initial at the initial stage, or there is another approach wherein if it is required to have a contract terms, even you can say modification, that is something which is again a different one, and based on that, with the say with those type of customers, you can have that particular approach. But I think here in your case, the filtering out at initial stage, at the receive end itself is very important, wherein categorization, along with that, if you have a like nowadays we started having this virtual, or you can say AI based controls, wherein the customer is required to enter details in a particular set format, and if he is entering the details in a particular set format, the AI tool itself will judge that, okay, now this complaint, it does not seems to be taken up, and these are the you can say answers, or you can say response which you can provide to the customer. And that is something wherein you can write like the AI tool can write it back to the customer that, okay, your contract terms, or your initial contract terms itself restricted us to this particular level, and beyond that you have to reach out to your courier service or your carriers. Okay, so this type of standardization can be done to avoid the efforts which is being put. So simply by having an tool implemented, and by that you can do that. So now again, in that also you need a standardization, wherein the proper data has to come in a set format, set standards. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's move to the next one. Now, as we have discussed, what are the benefits of handling complaints? Now, there are certain dangers or certain risk to handle complaints as well. Handling a complaint badly can lead to, like, when if you are not effectively, if I say the right term is effectively, if you are not solving the complaint, like suppose in the case when I was talking about that distributing the refunds, or replacing that particular product itself without investigating, or like it was customer's expectation, you have fulfilled it, you made the customer fully satisfied, but ultimately what has happened in that case, your revenue has hit, your profit has hit. So that is something like wherein you have to see the customer complaints are effectively closed. Okay, so that is where it is very important that you have to from the organization point of view, you have to effectively you can say close those complaints. The other point is like your customer leaving due to dissatisfaction. Like if you are not solving the complaints effectively, like there is a particular customer who was always complaining about the particular product, and you have given a solution to it, you have provided a technical solution to it, and that technical solution is limiting the expectation what he's having. So ultimately, by that level of dissatisfaction which has raised in his, he may leave the organization, so may leave that particular product to purchase in future. Competitors using the failure against you. Sometimes what happen as an organization, there are another manufacturer in the business line who is seeing that your particular product, because of services or because of product quality, is not being you can say up to the mark in the market. So there the competitor will come up and they will focus on that area. They will use your data, they will use your, and they'll focus on that particular part, they'll build that part in a good manner, and they'll take up that particular task. Demotivation of personnel involved in the process. So as I mentioned earlier, if the complainant is dissatisfied, they will get demotivated. If it is an internal one, internal complaints, again, from the internal team point of view, demotivation will ultimately lead to low productivity in the system, and ultimately to the loss of revenue or profit. Loss of opportunity to learn or improve. So this is very important, wherein through the customer complaints, resolving, finding out the root cause, you will be able to understand the right you can say opportunity or improvement opportunity, and based on that you can improve the product quality in upcoming. Now let's talk about what is first contact resolution. So in your case, the example which you were highlighting, so that is nothing but the first contact resolution, wherein your customer service team is the one who is contacting the customer at the very first time. So if a complaint can be handled and resolved at a point of first contact for the customer, serves benefits like customer confidence in the organization. Like sometimes not only the time or efforts for you, but also if a person or your customer has raised a complaint, and your customer service team will understand the matter at the very same time, they have a similar nature of you can say resolution available with them. They can quickly give that resolution, and ultimately your customer will feel, you can say, confident and have a good satisfaction level that his resolution has come up in a very effective timeline. Organization benefit through elimination of additional contacts. So as I mentioned, uh, one of the important thing is to eliminate the efforts. So the if the at the very first contact, in the very first level itself, the customer complaint is resolved, that will restrict your reaching out to escalation levels. Okay. The responsibility for handling the complaint lies with the first contact. So it is always that customer service team is having the responsibility to resolve, not to pass. Like usually sometimes what happen in most of the organization, you will find that if a customer is reaching out to a customer service team member, he will further give it to another person, he will another give it to another person, and by that the time is getting delayed, and the confidence of that particular customer is also. And even after resolving the issue after 10 days, he will not feel that much satisfied if the problem was resolved on day one by the same person whom he has reached at first. Okay. So that is why it is very important that you can try to you have to identify, because every complaint again cannot be resolved at level one. So you have to try maximum complaints should resolve, and by for that you can standardize, you can frame out the customer. And by how you can do that, once you have your trend analysis, wherein you know what type of complaints are coming, and for those particular complaints what type of process you have to follow, and ultimately what is the resolution to it. So by that you are linking and everything, and by you can say having a proper investigation, or you can say checks in the initial stage itself, the resolution can be given to the customer, and customer can be satisfied, or that complaint can be closed at the very same moment. The complaint handling time is reduced. Okay, so this is another benefit, since you have not reached out to escalation levels, you have not involved multiple team members or stakeholders to it, and ultimately resolve the complaint. So in your organization also, like your complaint, your most all the complaints are coming to you, or is there any set processes wherein your your customer service person is able to respond back with a effective resolution?
Current state process is the way it's been in the organization thus far is that everything comes through quality regardless of what it is. And that, unfortunately, fortunately, I don't know, in this case, my boss, who is the director of operations, used to be the quality manager back in the day.
Okay.
So she's like, this is the way we've done it for you. So me coming into the organization, new blood, new thoughts, I was brought in because they want change. I'm fighting against a source that knows my job very well and created the
Mhm.
procedures that are in process currently. So I'm trying to recreate the culture to have ownership at different levels to effectively work on the right things versus ineffectively. She goes, well, it's not that many, it's only 3 to 4 a month. Well, yeah, but you're talking 3 to 4 a month. And if I can not do two of those four, then look at how much more I can do. And that's where I'm coming from. Trying to get that balance um, to effectively work through the process to get everyone trained up where it's not going to be a problem going forward.
You are absolutely right. Sometimes what happen, since you come from the your manager, your team your business lead is from the same background, and he or she is in a particular way that everything should come to us, and sometimes we follow that particular approach. But now the approach which you are talking about is something which is a right approach, wherein if there are certain segregation which has to be done, there are certain accountabilities which has to be given to each and every individuals, or each and every, here in your case not individuals, to the departments, wherein at the very same time, if proper segregation is being done, if whether what who should take accountability of which type of complaints, then the process can be more effectively worked out. So because once it comes to you and then you see, okay, yeah, this can be resolved by this can be given to this. So ultimately at the first check itself, you have to see how you can produce a process, how you can implement a process, how you can utilize the tools which are available, like utilize any particular tools by which you can segregate these things at the very same initial stage itself. And by that you can convince your management that yeah, this is the right approach in which you can solve your this thing. Okay.
Yep.
So the cost of satisfying a complaining customer is likely to be less than the cost of losing the customer. So this is again a very you can say important made it like aim for you. So suppose a customer, because of dissatisfaction, he is not coming back to or you can say he's not coming up to the same product which you are delivering. So ultimately, if you focus on the complaint, if you satisfy the complaint which he has raised, he might not lose you might not lose the business through that. So cost of satisfying the complaint is less than the cost of losing a particular. So sometimes management will feel like, okay, spending this much on solving these type of complaints, like I'm talking about specific complaints wherein management has to have some additional cost to it. So what is happening, that particular cost is you have to understand from the business point of view that particular cost could be the lesser if he compares to that if you are losing that customer against that. So you have to make a decision that yes, you should spend on that. Like suppose you should change some delivery methods, or sometimes some particular terms and conditions, so that you should not leave that customer, but you have for that you can even markup in your cost. That is something different. Like slowly, if you have satisfied the customer after some time, they will be good, they will be happy to pay even more. So one thing is to maintain and then by that to become to come up to a certain level wherein you can also charge by your own this thing. So this is how you can operate in a particular model. Don't make promises that you cannot keep. Okay, so again, sometimes sometimes what happen in a uh, first time whenever you're interacting, you promise something which is customer is expecting something, and he's coming up with the number of requirements, deliverables. So and you are keep on promising on that, okay, this will be done, this will be done. Now you have, you know what exactly, like after that when you have implemented or executed, that time you have delivered 50% or 60% out of it, and that 60% is of good quality and at as per your best, you can say, standards. But ultimately because of that small parts which you have committed as are not being done, or you can say you were not able to produce that or deliver that, those part will again raise or you can say leads to dissatisfaction for the customer. So write down what you have agreed to do and then do it. So this is like as you have mentioned, your contract terms are very clear. So in every business, it is very important to have a proper you can say agreement, terms and condition defined by which you can go ahead with the delivery. Now let's talk about customers' perspectives, perceptions, and expectations. Okay. Yeah. So what do you think, like in your before going ahead with the theory? So like let's target your you can say organization's customer, and what expectations they are having, what type of perception they are having for your organization, or I'll say the product which you are delivering, or what type of perspective you think the customers are having towards that product or your organization.
What I've seen is our customers are very pleased with the product's performance, if it meets the contract, if it meets the drawing specifications. I think what they're dissatisfied with is possibly that the variation of the product from batch to batch can vary results in testing. And if and what I've seen over the 6 months is sometimes the testing isn't identical. The testing we do internally doesn't match what the customer's doing. So it could be that at the beginning, the sales team didn't understand what the customer requirements were for testing, or over time, did our testing change at one site or the other? Did the customer vary their test or did we vary our test? There's a lot of ambiguity in the unknowns. So trying to develop those positive relationships with customers, not having a complaint in for me to understand what else can we do differently. We do customer focusing surveys, and I also do quality focus surveys, um, to try to improve what we're doing before something comes up that's negative. That makes sense?
Yeah, that is something absolutely right. So that is something like it should be very clear. Like you have identified the root cause. Okay. Now here the root cause was, there could be two root causes. One is wherein the testing itself has to be standardized. Now if customer is testing on another different parameters and your testing parameters are different, ultimately because of that the perception which he's having in his mind, because as per customer he always thinks he is right. Okay. Now you have to build that you have to bridge that particular thing, that like in your case what you are testing against, these are these parameters, and again these are the parameters against which the product has been defined. So to avoid these type of expectation gaps or perception gaps, the clear communication should be there. And against that, like again, that communication has to be documented in a proper manner. So whenever you find out the root cause or we implement, so we have to document it or standardize that particular process. And again, once the standardization is done, then you will see that, because when we see in even in manufacturing, it is very important to standardize, so that each and every, your problem statement was that different batch are producing different sort of like sometimes some batches are having like a bit, you can say, not of that quality standards. So you have to standardize everything in a such a way that each and every batch should give right results. Or sometimes there are customer customization also. So to maintain both the things together, you have to see how you can manage both the demands, your standard demands as well, for standard market demands, and sometimes the customized market demands from the customer. So accordingly you have to process, everything has to be drilled down to a written paper or SOPs. So in upcoming slide, you will understand what is the importance of SOP. Like even for this process of customer handling, we are talking about the standard steps. Like we have understood that you have to categorize your complaint at the very same stage. You have to see that whether it is a product related complaint, service related, and accordingly you have to focus on those areas. So this is nothing but the standard of process like which we are following for this particular task. Okay. So the complainer may technically be wrong, but their perception is that they are right. So as I mentioned earlier, sometimes what happens, complainer, because he is not aware about the technicality of that particular. Like in your case, you have mentioned that testing parameters or the product was not as per the expected level of like the variation in the batch. So like some this particular technicality can be explained by the to the complainant in a proper manner so that his perception should change. Otherwise, he will keep on having the same perception that there is a defect in the product itself. But ultimately, the product is not defecting. The expectation is a different one. So you have to come up to a common page. Deal with facts and not opinions. So again, uh, whenever a complaint comes, mostly there is an opinion which everybody wants to build against that. So instead of building opinion, you have to see facts, or you have to see numbers in which that you can justify that particular complaint. Make sure that you have all the facts before making a decision. So like once a complaint is reached out, so you have to check facts, and whenever you're investigating, again that time also you have to see like in a particular manner, you have to quantify. So that is very important. You have to quantify with all the facts and figures, and ultimately to take the decision at the end. Understand that resolution is not always a matter of right and wrong. Sometimes you know that that complaint which has come from the customer, technically there is no resolution without paying extent. But to maintain that relation, to have that brand image, you sometimes you invest from your end to maintain that particular customer attached to you. So these type of you can say decisions through complaint resolution you have to make. So there is a particular thin line wherein you have to see from the management point of view, from the business head point of view, that what exactly the issue is, the reality of that particular complaint, and ultimately the resolution is favoring the company, you can say benefit or not. So now let's discuss dealing with perception. The customer perception of the situation may be much different from yours. Perception is closely linked with expectation. Perception may have originated from initial contact, like with the organization, like basically your you can say your marketing team. So first interaction of a customer with the organization is through the marketing team. Now the expectations which marketing team has set with the customer, that is something, the perception he will be carrying when you are executing, or you can say you are delivering that particular. So it is internally, it is very important for an organization to set expectations, or you can say have a proper communication in the initial stage itself with the customer, so that this type of gap should not come during the execution phase with the marketing materials, with customers, and with the product. So it usually starts from the, you can say, first thing, and ultimately your product at the end is also very important, and the perception from product also a customer can have, wherein the product quality itself is expected quality is not meeting the delivered quality. Yeah. Expectations are set by the customer and depends on past experience, social culture aspects, and education. So sometimes if you see, there are particular expectations which are mostly set by customer, that based on, like, some suppose there is a particular geo cultural aspects of that particular area, or socio cultural aspects of that particular area. So you'll find that expectation of those customers are aligned to that particular thing. Then there are certain past experience, based on that the expectations are set from the particular product. So you have to understand uh, what audience or what customers you are targeting, and accordingly you have to prepare your strategy. You cannot assume that an expectation is you need to ask questions and listen to determine what exactly it is. So as a you can say uh, service provider, you should not only depend on like I'll just interact just from the customer, ask question and understand the expectation. You have to determine like from all the other aspects as well, like from the you can say past background or from the past experience of that particular customer, like what type of you can say cultural background is coming up from. Okay, from the business point, like what type of other different you can say client was handling that particular customer. So all those type of other things also you have to look before finalizing the expectations. Facts versus feelings. Get the facts to handle a complaint effectively. Like a fact can be a proven one. A feeling can make a huge difference as to how the fact can be interpreted. And an opinion is an interpretation of a situation. An estimate carries less weight than a fact. So when we talk about a complaint, mostly we have to figure out that in that particular complaint, what exactly is factually correct and what exactly is emotionally driven. So emotionally driven things are like based on the feelings, if you are having certain gaps in it. So you have to identify that particular opinion and the interpretation based on that particular situation from that particular in that particular opinion. So you have to differentiate that, and based on that you have to at the end you have to conclude through the facts. Okay, so through the facts you have to conclude your complaint. Okay. So till now, any queries or questions which you want to discuss?
I have no questions at the moment.
Okay. Okay. So till now we have just gone through the basics of complaint handling. Now in upcoming slides we'll understand the process in which you have to approach a complaint. Okay.